Welcome to a journey of wisdom and inspiration rooted in the timeless teachings of Buddha. In this video, we explore the profound truth behind the saying, happiness never decreases by being shared. In a world where people often chase happiness through material wealth, achievements, or external rewards, Buddha reminds us of a deeper path. A path where true happiness comes from giving, sharing, and connecting with others. Each act of kindness, no matter how small, creates ripples that spread far and wide, touching countless lives and returning to us multiplied. Through this video, you'll discover 6 powerful insights into how sharing happiness can transform your inner world and the world around you. From understanding the infinite nature of happiness to realizing how compassion and selflessness lead to peace, every point will guide you toward a life filled with purpose, love, and lasting joy. Let's dive in and uncover how simple acts of kindness and shared positivity can light up not only your life, but also the lives of everyone you meet. The nature of happiness is infinite. Happiness is a unique and powerful emotion that differs from material possessions. Unlike wealth, food, or physical objects that diminish when shared, happiness grows and multiplies the more it is given away. This is the essence of the Buddha's teaching. Happiness never decreases by being shared. Imagine lighting one candle from another. The original flame does not become weaker. Instead, there are now 2 bright flames illuminating the darkness. Similarly, when you share joy with others, your own happiness remains intact and often becomes even stronger. At its core, happiness is infinite and boundless because it comes from within. Material possessions are limited, they can be taken, lost, or destroyed. If you share a piece of bread, you now have less bread for yourself. But when you share a smile, a kind word, or genuine love, you don't lose anything. In fact, you gain more inner peace and fulfillment. This is why many spiritual traditions, including Buddhism, emphasize generosity and compassion as pathways to true joy. One of the biggest misunderstandings in life is the belief that happiness depends on external factors, wealth, status, or possessions. People often think that if they give too much of themselves, they will be left with nothing. However, real happiness does not come from holding on tightly to what you have. It comes from letting go and connecting with others. When you share your happiness, it creates a bond, a flow of energy that returns to you multiplied. For example, think of a simple smile. When you smile at someone, you often receive a smile in return. That exchange lifts both people's spirits, brightening the moment. Even if the other person does not respond, your act of kindness has already created a ripple of positivity in the world. This is how happiness spreads, quietly, naturally, and without effort. It is like pouring water into a flowing river rather than a stagnant pond. The more you give, the more it flows. Sharing happiness also helps heal emotional wounds, both your own and others. When you make someone else happy, you momentarily step outside of your own struggles and worries. This shift in perspective brings clarity and lightness to the heart. Similarly, the person receiving your kindness feels supported and valued. Over time, these small acts of shared happiness can transform relationships and even entire communities. Consider how a family, workplace, or neighborhood changes when people consistently share positive energy. Trust grows, conflicts decrease, and cooperation becomes easier. It's like planting seeds of joy in a garden. Each act of sharing is a seed, and with care, these seeds grow into a thriving forest of well-being. In this way, happiness is not a limited resource, it's a living, growing force. On a spiritual level, sharing happiness aligns with the natural flow of life. The universe operates in cycles of giving and receiving. When you hoard happiness, like hoarding wealth, it stagnates and eventually fades. But when you allow happiness to move through you, by sharing it freely, it stays fresh and vibrant. Buddha's teaching encourages us to trust this natural abundance. In conclusion, happiness is like light. The more you spread it, the brighter the world becomes. When you share happiness, you are not only enriching the lives of others, but also deepening your own inner joy. This truth reminds us that happiness is never something to be protected or saved. It is meant to flow endlessly, touching every life it encounters. By living this way, we create a world where everyone can shine together. Spreading positivity creates more joy. Positivity is one of the most powerful forces in the world, and when we choose to spread it, we create a cycle of joy and connection that benefits both ourselves and those around us. The Buddha's wisdom, happiness never decreases by being shared, perfectly reflects this truth. When we share happiness through positive actions, words, and attitudes, it does not diminish. Instead, it multiplies and returns to us in unexpected and beautiful ways. This is the magic of spreading positivity. It grows stronger the more we give it away. Positivity is like a gentle breeze that refreshes everyone it touches. When we offer a kind word, a smile, or a helping hand, we are planting seeds of joy in someone else's heart. These seeds may seem small at first, but they have the potential to grow into something much greater. For example, a simple compliment can brighten someone's entire day, and that person may then pass on that good feeling to another. This chain reaction of kindness can reach far beyond what we can see, creating ripples of happiness in the world. One of the most beautiful aspects of positivity is that it strengthens relationships. When we make the effort to uplift others, it deepens trust and builds connection. Imagine a workplace where people encourage and support one another. Instead of competing or tearing each other down, everyone works together harmoniously. The atmosphere becomes lighter, stress levels decrease, and overall productivity improves. This is the power of shared joy. It transforms environments, turning even difficult situations into opportunities for growth and unity. Spreading positivity also benefits our own mental and emotional well-being. Science has shown that acts of kindness and generosity release endorphins and serotonin in the brain, chemicals that create feelings of happiness and peace. When we make others happy, we simultaneously boost our own mood. This means that sharing happiness is never a one-way street. It's a mutual exchange that nourishes both the giver and the receiver. In many ways, by lifting others, we also lift ourselves. Another important point to remember is that positivity has the power to break cycles of negativity. The world is often filled with anger, stress, and conflict. If we respond to negativity with more negativity, the cycle continues endlessly. But when we choose to respond with kindness and understanding, we disrupt that pattern. For instance, if someone is rude to you and you respond with patience instead of anger, you are planting a seed of peace in that moment. Over time, these small, positive choices can bring about profound change, not just in individuals, but in communities and even societies. Spreading positivity also creates a sense of purpose and fulfillment. When we focus on making others happy, our lives gain deeper meaning. Many people search for happiness through material wealth or personal achievements, only to find that these things offer temporary satisfaction. Lasting joy comes from giving, serving, and contributing to something greater than ourselves. Knowing that you've made a positive difference in someone's life, no matter how small, brings a sense of inner contentment that cannot be bought or taken away. Furthermore, positivity has a natural way of coming back to us. This is often referred to as the law of karma, or the universal principle of cause and effect. When we spread happiness and goodwill, we set in motion a flow of energy that eventually returns to us. It might not come back immediately or in the way we expect, but life has a way of rewarding those who consistently act with kindness. In conclusion, spreading positivity is one of the most powerful and self-sustaining ways to increase joy in the world. When you choose to share happiness, you create ripples that extend far beyond your own life. These ripples come back to you, magnifying your own sense of well-being and strengthening the bonds between you and others. By consciously spreading positivity every day, you help build a world where happiness truly multiplies endlessly, growing brighter with each act of kindness. Happiness grows through compassion. Compassion is at the heart of true happiness. It is the deep awareness of the suffering of others combined with the desire to ease that suffering. The Buddha's teaching, happiness never decreases by being shared, beautifully reflects the idea that when we act with compassion, our own joy expands rather than diminishes. Compassion connects us to others on a profound level, helping us experience a sense of unity and purpose that goes beyond our individual needs. Through compassion, happiness grows endlessly, not just for the one who gives, but also for those who receive. At its core, compassion begins with empathy, the ability to understand and feel what another person is going through. When we see someone in pain or distress, our natural response is often to reach out and help. This act of reaching out is not just about making the other person feel better. it also brings inner satisfaction and joy to ourselves. When we show kindness and care, we tap into a part of ourselves that is deeply human and spiritually connected. This shared emotional experience creates a bond that strengthens both the giver and the receiver. One of the most beautiful things about compassion is that it creates happiness on both sides. When you comfort someone who is struggling, you can see their burden lighten, even if only a little. Their relief brings you a feeling of purpose and fulfillment. This mutual joy forms a cycle of giving and receiving that reinforces itself. Unlike material possessions, which diminish when shared, compassion multiplies because it exists in the heart. The more you give it away, the more it grows within you. For example, think of a time when you helped a friend through a difficult situation. Maybe they were grieving, feeling anxious, or dealing with failure. Even though you couldn't solve all their problems, simply being there for them, listening, and showing genuine care brought them comfort. That act of compassion not only improved their emotional state, but also deepened your own sense of love and connection. This is how compassion expands happiness, by creating shared emotional healing. On a larger scale, compassion has the power to transform communities and societies. When people practice compassion collectively, they create an environment of safety and trust. Imagine a world where neighbors support one another, where businesses prioritize people over profit, and where governments act with empathy for their citizens. Such a society would naturally be more peaceful, harmonious, and joyful. Each individual act of compassion contributes to this greater vision. It's like adding drops of water to a lake. Over time, those drops form a vast, nourishing body that sustains all who come to it. Compassion also helps us transcend ego and selfishness. Often, unhappiness arises from being too focused on our own problems, desires, and fears. When we shift our attention outward and genuinely care for others, our own suffering begins to fade. This doesn't mean we ignore our needs, but rather that we recognize the interconnectedness of all beings. In Buddhism, this understanding is called interdependence, the idea that no one exists in isolation. When you ease another's pain, you are indirectly healing yourself as well. Furthermore, compassion leads to emotional resilience. Life is full of challenges and hardships, and it's easy to feel overwhelmed. However, when you cultivate compassion, you develop inner strength. You begin to see struggles not just as obstacles, but as opportunities to grow and help others. This shift in perspective makes it easier to navigate difficulties with grace and calmness. In this way, compassion becomes a source of lasting happiness and inner peace. Finally, compassion has a ripple effect that extends far beyond what we can see. A single compassionate act can inspire others to act kindly as well, creating a chain reaction of goodness. For instance, a stranger's simple act of generosity might motivate someone else to help another person later on. Over time, this ripple of compassion can grow into a wave of positive change, touching countless lives. In conclusion, compassion is a powerful force that allows happiness to expand infinitely. By connecting deeply with others, easing their suffering, and acting with love, we not only make the world a better place, but also enrich our own inner lives. The more compassion we give, the more we receive, proving that happiness truly never decreases when it is shared. Through compassion, we can create a world filled with kindness, unity, and boundless joy. Selflessness leads to inner peace. One of the most profound teachings of the Buddha is that true happiness and freedom come from letting go of ego and selfishness. When we hold on tightly to our desires, possessions, and expectations, we create suffering for ourselves and others. In contrast, when we act selflessly, giving without expecting anything in return, we experience a deep sense of peace and contentment. This is why the Buddha said, "Happiness never decreases by being shared." Selflessness is not about losing yourself or ignoring your needs. Rather, it's about transcending the constant demands of the ego and living with an open, compassionate heart. The ego thrives on the idea of a me and a mine. It constantly seeks validation, control, and pleasure, believing that happiness comes from accumulating more wealth, more praise, more power. But this is an illusion. The more we cling to external things, the more anxious and fearful we become. For instance, if you define your happiness by material possessions, you will live in constant worry about losing them. Similarly, if you rely on the approval of others, your mood will rise and fall with their opinion. This cycle of attachment leads to restlessness and dissatisfaction, keeping us trapped in suffering. Self is a way out of this cycle. When we focus less on ourselves and more on the well-being of others, we break free from the endless pursuit of a more. By giving our time, love, and energy without expecting a reward, we discover a deeper, lasting joy that comes from within. This is because selfless actions align us with our true nature, a nature that is naturally compassionate and connected to others. Instead of feeling isolated and separate, we begin to experience life as part of a greater whole. Consider the simple act of helping someone in need. When you assist a stranger, comfort a friend, or volunteer for a cause, you are engaging in a selfless act. Even though you gain nothing material, you often feel profound happiness and fulfillment afterward. This is because true happiness is not about what we take, but about what we give. By reducing the focus on our me, we create space for peace and love to flow freely through us. Selflessness also helps to reduce conflict and stress in relationships. Much of human suffering arises from clashing egos, each person wanting to be right, to be recognized, or to be in control. When we practice humility and put others first, these conflicts naturally diminish. For example, if two people are arguing, one person's willingness to listen patiently and let go of pride can transform the entire situation. This doesn't mean allowing others to mistreat you, but rather responding with understanding instead of defensiveness. Such selfless behavior fosters harmony and trust, bringing peace to both parties. On a spiritual level, selflessness is a path to inner liberation. In Buddhism, this idea is closely related to the concept of non-attachment. When we release the grip of ego and desire, we free ourselves from suffering. This doesn't mean we stop caring or stop taking action. It means we engage with life fully but without clinging to outcome. For instance, you can work hard on a project, care deeply about your loved ones, or pursue personal goals, but without letting your happiness depend entirely on success, praise, or control. This balance brings a profound sense of calm and stability. Another benefit of selflessness is that it strengthens compassion. When we stop focusing solely on ourselves, we become more aware of others' struggles and needs. This awareness naturally leads to kind and generous actions. Over time, practicing selflessness cultivates a compassionate heart, which in turn brings more joy and meaning to life. It's a beautiful cycle. Selflessness deepens compassion, and compassion deepens happiness. Finally, selflessness connects us to something greater than our individual existence. Whether you call it universal love, spiritual truth, or simply humanity, there is a sense of unity that arises when you act for the good of others. This connection dissolves feelings of loneliness and separation, replacing them with a sense of belonging and harmony. In conclusion, selflessness is a powerful key to inner peace and lasting happiness. By letting go of ego-driven desires and focusing on giving, we free ourselves from unnecessary suffering. When we share happiness through selfless actions, we don't lose anything. Instead, we gain clarity, calmness, and a profound joy that cannot be shaken by external circumstances. Through selflessness, we discover that the truest form of happiness is not in what we receive, but in what we give. A collective ripple effect. Happiness, like a drop of water in a pond, has the power to create ripples that extend far beyond its original source. When we perform even the smallest act of kindness or share a moment of joy, it doesn't just stay with the person who directly receives it. It spreads outward, touching countless others in ways we may never see. This is what the Buddha meant when he said, "Happiness never decreases by being shared." Sharing happiness sets off a chain reaction that can inspire, heal, and uplift entire communities, ultimately shaping a more compassionate and harmonious world. The concept of a ripple effect is simple but profound. Imagine tossing a single stone into a calm lake. At first you see one splash, but then circular ripples form and expand outward. Similarly, when you share happiness, your action may seem small at first, like smiling at a stranger or offering a kind word, but its influence can grow and multiply. The person you helped may in turn help someone else, who then passes that positivity forward, creating an ever-expanding wave of goodness. This ripple effect begins with intention. When we act with love, kindness, and empathy, our actions carry a positive energy that naturally spreads to others. For example, consider a teacher who encourages a struggling student. That student gains confidence and motivation, which may lead them to treat their peers with kindness. Later, those peers may carry that kindness into their own families and communities. In this way, one compassionate act can ultimately affect dozens or even hundreds of lives over time. The beauty of this ripple effect is that we often never know how far it reaches. A small gesture, holding the door open for someone, giving an honest compliment, or listening with genuine care might completely change the course of another person's day or even their life. They may never tell you, but your action could give them hope, inspire them to keep going, or remind them that they are not alone. This is why no act of kindness is ever wasted. This idea is supported by science and psychology as well. Studies have shown that kindness is contagious. When people witness acts of generosity, their brains release chemicals like oxytocin and dopamine, which create feelings of warmth and happiness. These positive emotions encourage them to act kindly toward others, continuing the cycle. Essentially, kindness and happiness have a natural tendency to spread like wildfire, much like how laughter can be infectious. On a larger scale, collective acts of shared happiness can form entire communities and societies. Consider what happens during times of crisis. When people come together to support one another, offering food, shelter, or emotional comfort, the community grows stronger and more united. Even in the face of hardship, shared happiness can bring resilience and hope. History is filled with examples of communities that rebuilt themselves through collective compassion and cooperation, proving that shared joy has the power to heal even deep wounds. The ripple effect also teaches us that our individual actions matter deeply, even if they seem insignificant at the time. Often, people underestimate the influence they have on the world. They might think, "I'm just one person, what difference can I make?" But just as a single drop of water can start endless ripples, one person's kindness can inspire movements of change. By choosing to share happiness each day, we contribute to a much larger network of positivity and love. Another beautiful aspect of this ripple effect is that it returns to the source. Just as ripples eventually circle back toward the center of the pond, the happiness we put into the world often comes back to us. This is closely connected to the Buddhist concept of karma, the idea that our actions create energy that shapes our future experiences. When we consistently give joy to others, we are also cultivating joy for ourselves, directly or indirectly. In our modern, interconnected world, the potential for these ripples has grown even greater. A kind word shared online, a video that inspires hope, or a message of support can reach thousands or even millions of people instantly. This means that we have more power than ever before to spread happiness and create positive change. In conclusion, the ripple effect of happiness reminds us that no act of sharing is too small or insignificant. Each smile, word of encouragement, or compassionate action creates waves that travel farther than we can imagine. When we choose to share happiness, we become part of something much larger than ourselves, a collective movement of positivity that has the power to transform lives and communities. Through this ripple effect, we see clearly that happiness is limitless, expanding endlessly as it flows from one heart to another. Happiness enriches your own life. When we think about happiness, we often imagine it as something we need to find or receive from the world around us. Many people chase happiness through wealth, success, recognition, or material possessions, believing these external factors will bring them lasting joy. However, the Buddha's teaching, happiness never decreases by being shared, reveals a deeper truth. Real happiness doesn't come from holding on to things, but from giving and sharing. When you share happiness with others, you not only bring light to their lives, but also enrich your own life, experiencing a deeper and more meaningful form of joy. Happiness is a unique kind of resource. Unlike money or material goods, it does not get smaller when you give it away. In fact, when you share happiness, it multiplies and grows, creating a cycle of positivity that flows back to you. Imagine lighting another candle with your own flame. Your flame remains just as strong, yet now there is more light in the room. Similarly, when you brighten someone else's life with kindness, love, or encouragement, your own inner light shines even brighter. From a psychological perspective, acts of giving and sharing have been proven to increase happiness and well-being. When we do something kind for others, whether it's helping a friend, volunteering, or simply offering a smile, our brain releases endorphins, dopamine, and oxytocin. These are the feel-good chemicals that create a sense of warmth, connection, and peace. This natural response is sometimes called the helper's high. It shows that we are biologically wired to feel good when we help others, which means sharing happiness is just as beneficial for us as it is for those we help. Consider a simple example. If you surprise a loved one with a thoughtful gift or spend time listening to someone who feels lonely, you can see their joy and gratitude instantly. In that moment, you also feel a deep sense of fulfillment. This feeling cannot be bought or forced. It comes from knowing that you have made a genuine difference in someone's life. Over time, these experiences accumulate, giving your life a greater sense of purpose and meaning. Instead of constantly seeking happiness outside of yourself, you begin to realize that happiness comes from what you give, not just what you get. Sharing happiness also improves relationships and connections. Humans are social beings, and our well-being is deeply tied to the bonds we form with others. When you share happiness through kindness and compassion, you strengthen trust and intimacy with those around you. Whether it's your family, friends, co-workers, or even strangers, spreading joy builds stronger, healthier relationships. These positive connections create a support system that helps you navigate life's challenges with greater resilience and peace. Another way that sharing happiness enriches your life is by reducing stress and negative emotions. When we focus too much on our own problems, it's easy to become overwhelmed by worry, anger, or sadness. However, when we shift our attention outward and focus on helping others, our own struggles seem smaller and more manageable. Acts of kindness and sharing cultivate gratitude, which has been shown to improve mental health and emotional stability. By sharing happiness, you create a mindset of abundance rather than scarcity. Furthermore, sharing happiness leads to personal growth and self-discovery. When you engage in selfless acts, you learn more about yourself and your values. You gain a deeper understanding of what truly matters in life beyond material possessions or societal expectations. This growth helps you develop qualities like empathy, patience, and humility, traits that make you a better person and bring lasting peace. On a spiritual level, sharing happiness aligns with the natural flow of life and the universe. In Buddhism and many other spiritual traditions, giving is seen as a sacred act. The energy you send out into the world always finds its way back to you. When you share happiness, you are participating in a universal cycle of love and compassion. This flow creates harmony not only within yourself but also in the world around you. Importantly, sharing happiness doesn't always require grand gestures. Even small, everyday actions can have a profound impact. A smile to a stranger, a few encouraging words to someone feeling down, or taking time to express gratitude can ripple outward, touching many lives. Over time, these small acts build a legacy of kindness, enriching both your life and the lives of others. In conclusion, sharing happiness is not a sacrifice. It is a gift that returns to you in countless ways. It nourishes your soul, strengthens your relationships, reduces stress, and brings you closer to a life of meaning and fulfillment. By sharing happiness freely, you discover that true joy is limitless. The more you give, the more you receive, proving that happiness truly expands when it flows between hearts. Through this practice, you enrich not only your own life, but also the lives of everyone you touch.